So now it's time to do the cleanup. Now the cleanup here is going to be slightly more complex. Okay, by the way, Alright. So thank ChatGPT for doing its job properly, and now we're good to go on this front over here. Now, what was I going to do next with this? Yes, I need to do a cleanup, right? So we need to make sure that it hasn't changed the variable names and all that, because I want them to be consistent across the different repos, and we can't exactly count on it, doing that properly. So I think first difference is that it's gone and output a bunch of things, intermediate steps, right? Contract, root, result, etc. But what I really wanted is to output this instead, right? And so I'm going to remove all the FNT printf stuff later on. So what I'm going to do is do something like this, or delete and delete. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So as we can see from all of the, underlines, we can see that the variables have not been named in exactly the same way that we expected it to be. So we've got some cleaning up to do. Alright, so we're gonna skip the RPC bits over here. Account Explorer URL. I think we actually can skip that, maybe. Do we need account address here? No, we just need account ID, because with the SDK the address is not absolutely necessary. So I'm just gonna comment those out. My contract address, Explorer URL, I think these are definitely relevant, and if we don't have them, we should get them. So my contract address is equal to my contract.address. Let's see. Okay, so we've got the contract ID, but we don't have the contract address. I wonder if that's even possible via the SDK. We definitely can get Contract Explorer URL. That is indeed possible. Let's see. So receipt dot it doesn't have an address. Okay, so we'll have to make use of the contract ID, so it'll be right. So my contract explorer URL colon equals t dot sprint f and we'll want to pass in contract ID. And so it'll be this, and I think percent yes contract ID, and let's see if that works. The next thing is contract write transaction hash and explorer URL. So it won't be a hash, instead it will be a transaction ID, right? Because we're using the SDK. So we already have the transaction ID, so what we're going to do here is actually get rid of that. Equals to the fmt dot f and so we want execute transaction ID, and we want this, and percent s. So we want my contract query result to be that. We just simply rename that. So instead of my contract address, let's make this a bit bigger. So this is going for the deployment. Contract ID will be replaced with my, let's just call it my contract ID, and okay, so to make sure that it matches case, and it is the full word. Contract ID, my contract ID. Alright, that's great. And then we still need to do my contract address. This. Okay. So same thing with this. Transaction hash with my contract write transaction ID instead. Okay, so where's the write transaction? Write to smart contract. Right, so execute transaction ID is going to be renamed with that. Okay, so now all the outputs are done, except for account address and account explorer URL. I think the address we can get rid of it, but the account explorer URL we can still have it. So account explorer URL would be actually, where would we even put it? Maybe over here. Colon equals to, and account explorer URL So that will be fnt.printf account ID, and oops. All right. So that will give us that output. So it'll be just missing account address, but we don't need that in this particular case. And then with the other ones, we've got substitutions. So let's just run that to make sure that everything is okay. And then the other thing that I want to do is make sure that the comments are aligned. Alright, so 2 extraneous outputs. We didn't need those, so let's get rid of those lines. Okay, and then now it's time to align the comments. So we've got load environment variables. Initialize account is not relevant because we're using the SDK. Configure client in the environment variables. Okay, so read ADI and bytecode files. So this one doesn't exist. So if I go in preparation for deployment to HSCS. Alright, so upload bytecode to HFS in preparation for deployment to HSCS. That's perfect. And then finally we can get to deploy smart contract, so that is aligned. Now write data to smart contract. Okay, great. So now we need the redacted version of this. So we want this, the equivalent of this. Invoke a smart contract transaction. And the reason for that is because this line, these 2 lines here tell the developer who's following along in the tutorial, this is a demo report for the tutorial, the Hello World sequence, that it maps to a particular step that's been written. So let's show a concrete example, right? So this is step 3, write to a smart contract, right? And so that corresponds to this line, right? So it's saying, so in the demo repo, you'll see this, right? With this redacted version over here, introducing what you put in it. And then it says, oh, okay, you just put a string with your name and nickname in it, right? So the equivalent of that would be a redaction of this line over here, set function, right? So let's right, and then Yeah, so that's what I want to do over here. And I'm just deciding where I should put this comment. Should I put it here or there? I'll just leave it here for now. Alright, moving on. So we need to get to step, the next one, which is over here, read from smart contract. So this is write data to smart contracts. I just want to make sure that the titles are consistent. So read data from smart contract. And so for this one, same thing over here, so that people know, who are following along, the developer following along knows that this corresponds to step 4, which is over here, right? And so this one is not a redaction of a single thing, right? But rather it's the entire thing. So assigning it to so that's the result, which is that part, and then the await, which is basically but it's just a bit more verbose here, so there isn't an exact equivalent. So my contract corresponds to my contract ID, and then there's no equivalent for set gas, and then the function, set function greet, with no parameters, so it's nil. So it's a nil parameter. So this one is a little bit more trickier to find the equivalent of. I think what I'll do is I'll redact these 3 lines, right? Yeah, let's do that. So get rid of this, and then, sorry, this needs indentation. Like, I need to do it manually like this, so that we get the spacing right. So that reduction, and this one. So we don't want to redact the gas part, because, you know, the original didn't need you to specify gas, right? Okay, so that's that redaction, and then output results over here. Perfect. Okay, so I think that should do it, and it looks like the equivalent. Now I'm just going to make sure that it still works after all those edits, in case I made some accidental errors. Alright, so I got account ID, Explorer URL, contract ID, contract Explorer URL. Yep, so all this looks like it works. Great. And I think that's it. Okay, so maybe time to do a commit. So git log, hang on, actually git less, git add sol. Right, git status, so git go.mod, and the script file, and I want to edit the git ignore code. Actually, no, touch.gitignore, and I want .api and .bin files to be excluded. So star.api star.bin, and specifically one that's just directly in this directory. Get status. Alright, so that's ready to commit. Almost. Okay, so git log. Git commit. Golang version of, what are we in now? 02 HSCS smart contract. 02-HSCS. Okay, great.